AmandaLand, AmandaLand, AmandaLand. Good morning, everybody. Good morning, good morning, good morning. Welcome to Views from AmandaLand. How's everybody doing on this Wednesday, May 7th? I hope well. You're waking up on the right side of history. I thank you for doing that. I also appreciate you all being here for news and truths by any joke necessary. You know, something very interesting is happening. Our viewership is lowering, which is weird because nothing has changed. I mean, some days it'll be like 600 something, and then other days it's like right now it's like 83. I mean, it's climbing, but it's an interesting thing to note. And I also think it's because many of people have mentioned this, that YouTube is not sending out notifications. YouTube is not sending notifications. People are signing up for notifications for this page, and YouTube is actively not sending them out, which is really problematic. And the only way that gets changed, by the way, is if you report it to YouTube. So you literally have to report that you're not sending notifications. Because every day people are like, I did not get my notification. So you have to report that. And you know, India, listen, girl, listen. But why do we need a notification if we know it's Monday through Wednesday at 10? This is how I think. These are my thoughts. I share these thoughts with you. But everybody's different. Everybody needs different things. So there's that. So just know that that's a way to combat that, is to tell them, like to send them like a notice. So there's that. But then you have Danielle saying she's getting notifications for channels she don't even watch. Look at that. Thank you, Nicolette. Thank you. But let me blow your mind real quick, because it's a set! Ah! It's a set. It's a set. Y'all know I love a chord. Y'all know I love a chord. My favorites. I love a chord. Chords is my fave. Yes, they is. So we were going to do an episode today with your assignments. However, when I went through and looked at the assignments, a number of you had not followed directions, or you had done certain things that made it not possible to share. So I'm going to give you the opportunity to correct your assignment before Monday. 1, if we recall, I said that the assignment needs to be either 1 paragraph or 3 minutes. So why I got videos that were 3 minutes and 30 seconds, I don't understand. I want to teach y'all about it's a thing that in editing that we call preserving our darlings, being precious with your darlings. The key to editing, whether it's a paper, whether it's a text, whether it's a video, is understanding the reality that everything you think that needs to be there don't need to be there. It forces you to become very precise with your messages. We call it killing your darlings. Yes, your words, your vision is your darling. However, if it is not advancing the message or the story or expounding upon a character if we're in a narrative or giving the audience a better ability to understand the next thing, then it is not necessary. I ain't gonna say names, but I got a video that was 3 minutes and 30 seconds. Why? The assignment says 3 minutes. You know how long 30 seconds is? That's a long time. But it also is probably not a necessary time. You got to do it. Like I have to print out my manuscript today. It's ridiculously long. And so now I am going to have to chop a style, chop a style, chop a style, chop a style. But I know that. You know what I'm saying? I know that. And that is a part of the process of messaging. I also want to let y'all know that you cannot use copywritten music in your videos because then I can't share your videos. So those of you who have done so, and I'm going to repeat all this at the end of the episode. Actually, let me just tell you this right now. So because of this, we cannot do the episode today for the assignments. The other reason is because I don't know why we have 35, 40 people asking for the link to upload, but we only have 10 assignments. We only have 10 submissions. Why is that, y'all? Why is that? We literally only have 170 people watching right now. This is nuts. This internet is nuts. The way they be shutting things down. The way they be shutting things down is nuts. So we done went from 1,000 viewers to 175. That's just bonkers to me. I am again being suppressed. Yes, Levon. YouTube is suppressing me. It is happening. It is happening. But that's bullshit, Renato. It's a paragraph. That's a cop-out. You're here for 2.5 hours. You had a week. So cut it out. Y'all don't, you talking to the queen of making it work. So don't tell me, oh, I couldn't because. No, if you needed an extra half hour, wake up an extra half hour early. That is how this whole life thing works. I remember when I was with my ex, he wanted this whole bigger life. He wanted a life that had a big house. He wanted to have a lady. He wanted to have success, but he didn't want to expand his life. You have to expand. That's how it works. You want to have kids? You can't, the same you can't have kids. You're going to have to expand. And sometimes that means physically, sometimes that means literally, like in your language, but you're going to have to expand. And expansion is a key element of our society that is constantly being like shamed. Like I always say that if we want to have a better society, we have to expand, not change out who's sitting at the table. We have to expand the size of the table. That's what it requires. And our human AI has that capability. You can see that honestly in autism, in autistic children, probably the best example. Because autistic children will show up in this world a certain way, and with considerable support and therapy and patience, their brain is given the opportunity to adjust. I'm not going to use the word correct, to adjust, to form new neural pathways, to create with myelination new abilities to process. And even though it may take a little longer as you get older, we are always capable of that. So I say that to say that this space is a space of expansion. This space is a space of growth. This is not a space of passivity. So when I say like, hey, I'm going to have an assignment, I know that we're not in like physical school, but the reality is that we're in a world that sees education and that sees critical thinking and sees the elevation of both of those things as a way to control you. So you participating in that is an act of resistance. You honing your skills of you honing your skills of critical thinking, you challenging yourself to integrate that into your work-life balance. That is expansion, and that is what they don't want from you. So we come here to this space. It's a different space. This is not a talk show. This is not a talking head where I'm just, shooting the mess or whatever. I don't come here for clout. I don't come here to have a career. That's not what this is. This is an exchange with me and y'all, and understand that I gain so much from being here with you all and the information that you share and the insights that you share. And I also gain from you all when your voices are able to be integrated into the show. And that is what these assignments allow for. And you all grow from that as well. And we should all be trying to grow each other up. Okay. So that is that. That being said, I will extend, and on Monday we'll do the assignment episode. So anybody who used copywritten music, I would say you'll need, in order for it to be utilized or shown, you'll have to change out that background music, because this YouTube thing, they do not play around that. And it'll, like, I used to think it was like, oh, you have 30 seconds or you have 10. No, 1 second. And they're like, get it out of here. So you'll have to do that. And then, okay, so let me just remind you something, Renato. I want to remind you all of something. You live in your own world, okay? So you remember things that you say because you're saying it. But you expecting me to remember things that you've said when there's hundreds of people here is an unfair request. It's an unfair expectation. So the comment that you put here was, I didn't do it because. Now, if you had led with, I said I couldn't do it before because da-da-da-da-da-da-da, that's a different thing. So the consciousness of how you put things in this chat is really important, because it is also having some consideration for the fact that I'm one person watching the chat. So when you take it personal that I'm responding to what you said, understand I'm responding to what you said. Now, Adrian, you used music from Sinners in your video. So I wasn't going to be able to use it. I think the James Baldwin speaking should be fine, but you used the Sinners music, and literally I had played a video where I was talking during the end of the movie, and that was playing in the background, and they flagged the video. So They're not playing around. How do you burn out all the damn time? I feel guilty not having the mental bandwidth to even rewatch episodes sometimes. Well, you got to find the answer to that. I mean, listen, it's not surprising to burn out all the damn time. This is a world that has us burning at both ends, right? It has us burning at both ends. I find that nature has become a really, really effective tool. I find also that I basically have had to just say, okay, these are how I'm going to prioritize. Okay, so hold on. I'm gonna come back to this. Someone just entered the chat. So I'm gonna repeat what I said. Anybody who made a video over 3 minutes, your video needs to be cut. Because for the assignments that I'm extending, yes, Celine, you can definitely submit. I hope that we will have more submissions. I hope after my little lecture, we'll have some more submissions. So let's come back to Brianna's message. Brianna says, how do you not burn out all the damn time? You know, music and nature. Kismet, you got to cut more. You got to cut more, baby. 3 minutes. You got to cut more. And when you do, you're going to feel good. It's like when you break up with somebody that you know is taking time out of you. Burnout. Actually, Pantada makes a real good point here. Is about learning to prioritize my wants amongst the needs. And I think there's something very real about like not necessarily being able to prioritize, but definitely attempting to find harmony. Balance is difficult. Balance is not real. Because balance sometimes makes me feel like it expects that everything is going to get all the things. And that's not really practical. But harmony is all the things moving together as they should. Like when you listen to a doo-wop group, the bass is not going to be as loud as the baritone or the alto because it's not holding the melody, but it's in harmony. So think about that in your life, right? Like you may really love, I don't know, candy. I love candy, but I can't be candying all the daggone time or else I'll lose all my teeth. So the harmony is that I just have my candy sparingly, like when it's a need, when it's like, I need it. Or what I've done is I fall in love with dark chocolate, and dark chocolate does not have the same sugar content. So these are the things that I have like had to thoughtfully say. Now, I know that I don't have children. I'm not disabled. I know that I am not dealing with a job that is frustrating me. So I have a bit more brain space to make these transitions. I will say, though, that, okay, so Sealand said everything in moderation. Is that even really possible? The reason why I say that is because this society in the United States that we live in, it asks so much of us. We're not even existing in moderation. This society that we're living in right now in the United States doesn't even let us exist in moderation. We have to show up so much in all the ways. And then if we don't, we are penalized, right? With a fine or with not being able to acquire something, etc. So we don't even get to exist in a moderate way. So Risha says time management is something I'm learning in my 40s. Here's the thing about time management. I think that sometimes people look at time management and they basically look at it as like, how do I manage living against working? And that sucks. I will I'm going to bring this into your consciousness and just let me know, noodle on it, and then come back next week and let me know if it got any roots. I believe that what time management actually is figuring out how to factor joy and peace, because peace might be serenity, how to factor the things that allow your nervous system to exist in its best form, how to factor that throughout everything in your life. That is actual time management. You figure out how to do that, and and other shit, it works itself out. It does. You figure out how to do that, and it actually does the thing that you're thinking you're doing. That was a big shift for me. Like, don't get me wrong, there is something to be said for lists, right? There is something to be said for and that may be the process that you use to get there. I think that there is something to be said for the mindset and intention that you're going in with, though. You may use the same methods, which might be blocking off pieces of time, lists, alerts. However, I think the mindset and intention shifts the outcome. Like, I, at one point, had put in alerts throughout my day that were literally just affirmations. Literally. It would just pop up during the day, and it would say, you're that girl. But, and it would say, like, think about that for 30 seconds. And so I would just take 30 seconds to think about, like, I am that girl. I'm that girl. I'm that girl. And when I tell you that 30 seconds, baby, again, remember I told you 30 seconds is a long time. There's a lot of folks want to be comics, and they can't even do 30 seconds of comics. Okay? But those pop-up affirmations, especially if you're going through like a breakup or a dumping, or like you got fired, you're going through something that has really, jolted your confidence, jolted your, unsettled your security. Those help, because particularly if you're autistic and you ruminate, it helps to disrupt the rumination. Quick. So, yes, everyone, you have the ability to resubmit. Sandy is here. She got you. And because of this, we're not going to do this episode today. And so what we will do today is what I call a Pick Your Brain episode. The Pick Your Brain episode is where you can literally ask me anything, and I will give you an honest answer. You can literally ask me anything. I know sometimes I'll be like, don't ask me that. Today, the guardrails are off. You're welcome, Diana Craig. The guardrails are off. You can ask me anything. Yes, shout out to Sandy holding it down. Just really being such an incredible help to this society, to this community here at Views from AmandaLand. So today is going to be a you can ask me anything day. So store your questions up. Start thinking now. We're not going to start now because we're going to do the roll call, and we're going to do our word of the day, and then we shall begin. But just to give you this answer real quick while it's here, it's not a new song. I don't know why this song is in my brain, but Michael Jackson, Liberian Girl, has been in my brain for the past week. I don't know why. Maybe I heard it in a store and I didn't realize it, but I'll just randomly be walking around and I'll hear in my brain, Liberian Girl, you came and you changed my world. And then I thought, if I just listen to the song, then it'll go away. So then I put it on. I put it on all over the house. Liberian Girl, you came back, you changed my... I put it on all over the house. And I thought, okay, now it'll go away. It was like the hiccups. Just when I thought it was gone. Liberian Girl, You came and you changed my world. I don't know why. I don't know why. Hey, hey. Shoo-doo-doo-doo-doo-doo-doo. Scabba-dabba-da-da. Hey, AmandaLanders here to learn. Drop in and tell me where you're watching from. Let's go. Let's go. Tell me where you're watching from. AmandaLanders here to learn. Drop in and tell me where you're watching from. We got Rio, Brazil, Uptown Harlem, Jersey, Durhamite. Cassie's at a damn clinic. Memphis, Tennessee, Maine, Beantown, Massachusetts, Boise, Idaho. Shouts to the potatoes. Lake Wales, Florida, West Kendall, Florida, Tulsa, Oklahoma, Newport News. We got Baltimore, Maryland, Sao Paulo, Sunnyvale, California, Fort Worth, Texas. Antigua is back up in this bit. Cholula, Mexico is back up in this bit. We got Kansas City, Toronto, Canada, Upper West Side, and White Sea, Dayton, Ohio, Volusia County. Hold on. There was, Patricia, I did not know you was in Volusia County. There was a commercial for the Volusia County Fair, and that was an earworm when I was growing up. Volusia County Fair, Volusia County Fair. Come to the Volusia County Fair, Volusia County Fair. Detroit made it to class. Ah, yeah. New Jersey, Toronto, Brooklyn, Washington, D.C., San Diego, Houston. What else we got? OHIO, Reading, Pennsylvania. What else we got? North Carolina. Take your shirt and spin it around your head like a helicopter. So one time, I was being interviewed by P.D. Pablo, the singer of that song. And I was interviewing him on MTV's Sucker Free Sunday. We were sitting in tall chairs, and we were literally in the middle of the interview. I'd never met this man before. We're literally in the middle of the interview, and while we're talking, he just puts his hand on my thigh. Like, what's happening? The hand is on the thigh, and I'm just like, why is this man hand on my thigh? So as he's answering the question, I look at him and I'm like, why is your hand on my thigh? And he was like, ah, and he took it off, but it was like, what? And I looked at the camera and I was like, we gonna have to redo that. Okay. AmandaLanders here to learn. Drop in and tell me where you're watching from. So this is going to be that episode. This is going to be a get to know Amanda episode, get to know thoughts, get to know things, etc., etc., etc. You know, I was talking to a really good friend of mine the other day, and he was saying that, you know, when people would be like, oh my God, how can you be friends with Amanda Seales? He'd be like, well, I mean, I think I know an Amanda that you don't know. And he's right. Let me ask you, before we move on, let me just say this. So when I first printed out the Mother's Day cards, the printer made an error. Okay. And he printed out the cards but just as like one, like, you know, it's just a piece of art, right? So it can't be used as a card. I mean, it can be hung up. And so I have these. And then I have these envelopes. And I want to know if anyone wants them. Like, if you want me to sell them. So they would come in this envelope. And they would come with a sticker page. So, I mean, I'm thinking of putting them up for sale. At least Felicia will get one. Okay. Because I was like, what is the point of these? But y'all are like, I want them. All right. Okay. Because I definitely was like, what are we doing with these? What are we doing with these? And I'm also going to be, I cannot decide. I have these 2 pin ideas that I can't decide on. And I feel like I'm just going to have to I think I'm just going to have to make both of them. Reagan say, it's not just that Reagan say, dang well we're going to say yes, but it's the picture that she also has right here. Now, dang well we was going to say yes. Reagan, I don't know what you're talking about. I don't know what you're talking about. I'm about to go in on the art, though, because the book is not taking up my life, my entire life. You're about to see other different Amanda, too, because now I get to have sleep. I don't go to bed at midnight, okay? I don't go to bed at midnight. I haven't gone to bed at midnight for years. And I've been going to bed at midnight on a regular basis for the past 2 months, 3 months. This is not normal for me. So I have been sleep deprived. What did Miss Latia say? Miss Latia had a good idea. I think you should use them, write personal notes for people. Y'all love to give me work. Miss Latia said, write personal notes. I don't know, y'all. What personal note am I going to write for y'all? Cassie said, love letters. Like, oh, thank you, Elsie. Elsie loves my style. That makes me very, 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 very happy. Okay, wait. Some of y'all are putting the questions in here, but you're going to have to repeat them because because I'm not like marking them yet. Okay. But I wanted to show you all this. I wanted to show you guys this. So this is one of the pins that I want to make this into a pin. Liberian girl. You see what happened? Did you see that? Did you see what just happened? Did you see what just happened? That was not intentional. The song is just in my mind. So I want to make this a pin. And it kind of serves, like, I need to make some adjustments to it, but I want to make it. And then that's like for Caribbean Heritage Month. But then I also like this. I like this, but it wouldn't be the palm trees. It would just be this silhouette, this body. So what I'm thinking of doing, because I can't decide, is doing like a pin set that is literally Caribbean Heritage Month, Black Music Month, and Pride Month all in one. That's what my plan is. So you would get it's a 3-pin set. And then there would be a postcard that okay, I figured it out. So, but I want to make, because I need to make a pride piece that is representative of everybody. So I need to figure that out. So, oh no, baby, I'm not doing that. See, y'all be thinking things that are really good ideas, but that are really difficult. For Heritage Months, you could reach out to an artist for each community to help design one. No. No. One of the most difficult things to do is work with other artists. Lord have mercy. Mm-mm-mm-mm. 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 No, ma'am. Then I got to follow up with people. I got to, can you do it? Did you send it to me on time? I didn't like it. Nope. 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 Great idea. See, but that is a great idea, I think, for like someone who is a lover of art, but not necessarily an artist, right? They're not necessarily a creator of art. That's like those people exist everywhere, right? But Brianna said, "Ooh, I forgot. That's why I hated group projects." Right. Felicia said, immediately went into humming because you felt the stress. Yes, the stimming began immediately. Nope. The follow-ups, Patricia. The follow-ups. The follow-ups. Want to let you all know that I wrote a piece on Substack. About the Met Ball that I hope that you all will go check out. My Substack is Amanda Seals. And I am having the most intense sciatica pain right now. It is kind of unreal. And please hope you'll go check it out. I am very committed to becoming far more consistent with writing than I've literally never been. And touch my toes. That's what I need to do. Hold on. Let me touch my toes. I am in pain. Lord. I think I overdid my left leg at Taekwondo last night. I overdid my left leg at Taekwondo last night. Definitely. He's like, higher, higher. And I was just like, ugh, okay. Hold on. Okay. Oh, yeah. There we go. I have my leg like this on my other leg, but then like the desk is creating resistance. Yeah. There we go. Okay. Let's get into our word of the day. Shall we do it? So if you're just joining us, welcome to Views from AmandaLand, your news and truths by any joke necessary. Today we're doing something a bit different. We are doing a Pick Your Brain episode where you are given full reign to pick my brain. Now, I'm not a big fan of that. I hate the actual phrase pick your brain. But today, I am going to allow it. Okay? I'm sorry, Antia. I'm sorry. Lo siento. Okay. Today's word is is halcyon. Halcyon. Is that how you pronounce it? Halcyon? Let's see. Halcyon. Halcyon. Okay. Halcyon. Yes, halcyon. A period of time. It has two meanings. It can be a noun and an adjective. Halcyon. Halcyon. As a noun, it's a kingfisher, a brightly colored bird. As an adjective, it denotes a calm, peaceful period of time. Okay? Halcyon. It can be a noun or an adjective. Halcyon. Halcyon. It can be a noun which is a kingfisher, a very brightly plumed bird, or it can be an adjective meaning calm, peaceful, happy. So here we go with some sentences. Celine says, I always look forward to 30 seconds of stillness, aka 30 seconds of halcyon. Correct. Yes, Miriam. My morning walks are the needed halcyon. Now that I'm able to wake up at 7 because I'm going to bed at 10, I have enough time where in the morning before I start writing the show and prepping the show, I have enough time to go outside and put my feet in the soil for some much needed halcyon. No, that's not the right word. I didn't use it in the right word. I have enough time. Let me use it properly. Because I am now going to bed earlier, I can wake up earlier, giving me enough time in the morning to go outside and have a halcyon moment before starting the show. There we go. All right. Diana says, I miss the halcyon days of summer being the summer season instead of almost all year being summer. Fair. You know what? I will say that moving, and I never cared about that before because I'm from Florida. So I never really cared about that. But now that I live somewhere where there's seasons again, because even when I lived in the city, there were seasons. When I lived in New York before, there were seasons. Who's calling me? Hold on. I was just calling to say hi to you, but I'm doing my show, so I'm gonna call you back. So seasons, when you live in New York, I feel like as a young person, I didn't really like pay attention, but now I got the seasons and I love it. All right. The Brittany B said, having a 3-year-old and a 1-year-old, I really get the moments of halcyon that my soul requires. Pray for me, y'all. Hallelujah. Pray for Brittany, y'all. Pray for Brittany. Brenda said, this has been halcyon, but I got to go back to work. We'll see you, Brenda. We're here. Wait, we're here for you when you come back. We're here for you when you come back. All right. Y'all got to catch Kashawn up. She says she hopes she didn't miss too much. She definitely did miss some things though. So catch her up. All right. Javon says taking the time to have more halcyon moments help with your mental stability, which we did talk about earlier in the response to Risha talking about time management. And Rich says, once the revolution has completed, we will finally be experiencing halcyon. I hope. This is not the right use of it though, because I tried to use it this way too. And halcyon so basically as an adjective, it has to describe something. So I guess what you would say is once the revolution has completed, we will finally have a halcyon experience. That's how it would be used. All right. Okay. Elijah says, I miss the halcyon days of the pandemic. Sorry. Well, for you, it was a halcyon days. I think for a lot of people it wasn't, but for you it was. And I love that for you. I love that for you. And let's get Cece. Being in the forest among the trees is a very halcyon experience. Yes. Yes, it is. Yes, it is. You know what, Sam? I don't think I've ever seen you leave a comment. I don't think I've ever seen you leave a comment. Is this your first comment? The pinging noise is quite loud. Is this your first comment? You knew exactly. And that was your first comment. Your first comment was to come in and let everybody know that you feel that it's too loud. You just got here. Y'all gonna learn about living with me. That's like walking into somebody's house and the first thing you say is, it's hot. This ain't your house. At least give it a little bit of time. You know what I'm saying? At least settle in a little bit. Make a note to yourself. You know, that pinging is quite loud. That pinging is quite loud. But This internet be like, say whatever, say everything. No, don't say everything. Sometimes you really should just pause it out. Just pause it out. That's all. Take your shoes off at the door. You know, take it in. Take it in. Oh, Leon. Thanks, Leon. Leon say, hey, just swung by to say hi. Subscribed after watching your Sinners episode. Thank you, Leon. Come through. Come through. You know, but it's true because people just be saying whatever. And I'm like, I'm not a whatever gal. You know, like I'm not a whatever gal. And I feel like there's a lot of whatever happening. There's a lot of people that just be saying whatever. And they be saying it to me on on this internet. And for those who are just joining, we're having a real laid back episode today. Okay. Because we were going to do the assignments, but then people didn't follow instructions. So I'm giving people a chance to correct their assignments and turn them in before Monday. Okay. So that's Levon. What was bars? What did I say that was bars? Because I really be trying to keep up with when I'm saying things as bars. So like someone said to me on this internet yesterday, they said, I love you. You are a celeb, but you are a celebrity, an artistic intellectual, but a celebrity, straight face emoji. And I'm here for it. We've been in crisis for decades. Even when you were in Hollywood pursuing your dream, your generation is just now paying attention. I was doing what you are now doing, but I was doing it without the internet and social media, radical, weird, artsy, elder boomer, still doing it. Keep doing what you're doing. Just don't be a radical snob acting like people who just found a new religion. So this right here is a boomer snob who doesn't know what they're talking about. Okay. So I think it's interesting when people say things like this because they are talking out of their booty, but they have no idea what they're saying. So even if I am a celebrity, that's not something I've chosen to be. That's something that was put upon me. So that's one. Two, when they say that we've been in crisis for decades, even when I was in Hollywood pursuing my dream, the entire time I was in Hollywood pursuing my dream, I was also continuing to pay attention. So when they say things like your generation is just now paying attention, the level of problematicness with saying a bold blanket statement like that is really deeply concerning because it continues to fortify the chasm between elders and their generations and the other generations. I make it my business to bring people on here who are not of my generation, particularly younger folks, because they do have information, they do have knowledge, they do have a version of wisdom that is not my version of wisdom. And so when we say things like this, you're not bringing someone closer. You're pushing them away because I absolutely with the quickness blocked. Keep doing what you're doing. Just don't be a radical snob. Whom are you speaking to? Also, by the way, radical snob, in my opinion, is an oxymoron. My generation I am 43 years old. I am an elder millennial. I was born in 1981. That is my generation. So this whole idea of like going to Hollywood to pursue my dream, sir, I have been in the Screen Actors Guild since I was 8. Okay. I have been in the Screen Actors Guild since I was 8 years old. I've been paying taxes to this country since I was 8 years old. So talking to me about pursuing a dream in Hollywood is silly. And what it does is it reveals the ignorance, but it also reveals the aggrandizement, like basically like you don't know what you're talking about, so shut up. That's what I mean to say. Okay. Then somebody on these internets said, and this drives me up the wall. I need y'all to know this. This drives me up the wall. There is truly horrible happening across the globe. Unfortunately, the U.S. is in a tailspin. Right now, the U.S. needs to pull its own ish together first. We aren't taking care of our own. I'm all for being the global police, essentially, as soon as we can take care of ourselves. The thing about this is that it is wholly, completely, and 100% lacking any level of knowledge and intellectualism and intelligence about the United States. But it is presented as if they are wise. This is nonsense. Okay? This is 100% nonsense. When I saw someone say, you know what I'll do? I'm going to show you the video that they're responding to. That's what I'm going to do, because I think that context is very necessary. I'm going to show you the video that this person is responding to so that you can understand how wholly nonsensical their statement is. Okay? Because I think what we really fail to see is how cognitive dissonance exists in real time. Like on a regular basis, it exists in real time where people are watching something that is demonstrating the complete antithesis of the point that they then respond with.
And for many years, I've been in this house 20 years, I have supported Israel pretty much at all costs, quite frankly. But today, I want to say that I got it wrong. And I condemn Israel for what it is doing to the Palestinian people in Gaza and indeed in the West Bank. And I'd like to withdraw my support right now for the actions of Israel, what they are doing right now in Gaza. Of course the hostages should be released. Of course that Israel has a right to exist. Of course the Israeli people, the Jewish people should have the right to live in peace. But so do the Palestinian people. And I've said it before and I'll say it again, that the life of a Palestinian child is as precious as the life of a Jewish child. And this particular moment in time, we've had lots of statements over the last 18 months. This is not only this Parliament's not greatest hour. I'm really concerned that this is a moment in history when people look back where we've got it wrong as a country. Can the minister stand up to our friends and allies in the United States and make a strong stand for humanity, for us being on the right side of history, for having the moral courage to lead, not just to follow the United States, and to make a difference. That's why we're all elected here. Let's stand up for life. Let's stand up for all children, not just Jewish children.
I just watched Bisan talk about being besieged, and it was a long video, and I was about to scroll past it, and I said, what are you doing? No, make space, make time. And I listened to this MP speak in England, and I'm really glad to hear him finally make space and make time. And I watched a lot of folks here in the United States, and they're excited about Bernie and AOC, et cetera, et cetera. And I hope that you really don't understand what's going on, and that's why you are not deeply horrified and disgusted that United States lawmakers are fine with our tax dollars going to a nation that is actively murdering people, that is actively starving people under completely false pretenses. For these people, Kamala Harris and Bernie Sanders and the rest of them, for them to not stand and say what this man said, don't you ask yourself, who are these people? How do you not ask yourselves that? I ask myself that every single day. And I ask you all, how do you live every day being okay? Those of you who are fine with this, as long as it has nothing to do with you. Those who say things like, I'm minding my black business. Baby, your black business is in business. It's in the business of genocide. And you're okay with that? I'm bereft. So that video got this response. I called this on I called this on my Patreon. India is doing the same thing to Pakistan. You know why? Because international law means nothing. That's why India can do that to Pakistan. Because international law means nothing. And because international law means nothing, we're about to see the terror get terrible. Yeah. And so when I see statements like this, someone else said, we've got a lot going on, and we have they said, as a parent, I have bigger fish to fry. And I'm just like, even that, I just didn't even like those words being used. I just didn't like those words being used. I have bigger fish to fry. Yeah. I don't know what's bigger than that. I don't know what's bigger than that. And the concept of the United States not being involved in this is like, what are you talking about? The United States is deeply involved in this. The United States is actively saying that they can do things over there that they will not do for you. So it doesn't even apply to what you're saying. When you're saying we need to get our ish together here in the United States, how do you plan to do that if they're continuing to send billions of dollars over there? Like, what are you talking about? Also, what does getting our ish together mean? Does that mean just economics? Or does that include actual cultural shift, perspective shift? Because I can promise you that as long as Zionism continues to grow, as long as we keep seeing blonde white women stand up with crosses around their neck to say that they're Christian while they're actively doing the thing that crosses represent in that time, which was harming and hanging people for doing any crime, then we are not shifting anything towards taking care of our business. We're not. We're just talking about nothing. So I just feel like when people say we need to take care of our own ish first without acknowledging that all of this stuff is able to happen based on ish that you won't even recognize, I don't want to hear you. I don't want to hear you. So, when see this Tandaleo, it shouldn't even be about that Black folk can get snatched too. We need to mind our Black business. It shouldn't even be about that Black folk can get snatched too. It should really just be about like your morals. And every Black person that I see saying I'm minding my Black business about the harm of innocent people, you are literally acting in white business. that is white business. I'm not saying that you need to go and put your life on the line, but for you to just act like that doesn't matter to you, baby, they got you. Snatched you right on up. Brought you right up in to they burning house and took all that. They did it. They did it. So mission accomplished. Every Black person that I see saying I'm minding my Black business about ignoring the harm of innocent people. Again, not saying you got to put your life on the line, but for you to literally dissolve yourself. Sorry, what's the word I'm looking for? For you to literally disassociate. For you to literally disassociate. Oh my God. For you to literally disassociate yourself from a humanity perspective and say, I don't got to care about that because I'm Black. Oh my God, they got you. They did it. You in the burning house, baby. You in the scene at the end of Sinners. They got you. And no flash of a camera is going to save you. Unbelievable. All right. We're here, and it is time for us to get into the Pick Your Brain, the Pick Your Brain episode, where you guys can ask me any question you like. Okay? Any question you like, and I will answer it. And if there's questions that you had on your mind, Rolando said, keep it cute, y'all. Keep it cute. Correct. If there's questions that you've had on your mind that you never asked, this is the time. And I'm going to try to keep up. If I don't get to your question, just repost it. Okay. Cassie asks, what's your favorite sports team? My favorite sports team. I don't have a favorite sports team. I literally at this point could care less. I used to care. I just like people. Like I like Steph. Like if Steph Curry played for, I don't know, the Nuggets, then I would like the Nuggets. So I don't have a favorite sports team. Ms. Bless asks, how many Steph? Too many to count. Too many to count. And if we're counting at my mother's house as well, it's beyond. Too many to count. No, this is not a trap. This is not a trap. So let me give you some context. So when I was in my last relationship, my ex would always use this. He would always say like, oh, I just feel like I can't be honest, or I just feel like I can't express, I can't say when I don't like something. None of this is true. But because he would say this, I would create spaces that are non-judgment spaces for us to exchange with each other. So at the end of each day, it was safe space. Tell me what I did today that you didn't like, and I will receive it not as an attack, but as, critique, or tell me or ask me something that you want to know, and I will receive it not as interrogation, but as curiosity. Okay. Exactly. Okay. Kashan asks, what is the name of your lipstick shade? The name of this shade is 78. Do with that what you will. I don't answer brands because they're not paying me to promote them. These companies are not paying me to promote them. Jeremiah asks, Miss Seals, how connected is Hollywood and government? I ask because when Hollywood invests in producing films, concerts, etc., and they give a later date of the release, they do not know things might go down. Do they not know things might go down? So it depends, right? Hollywood and government, particularly when it comes to films that are related to war, is very connected. There's a documentary about this. I can't remember the name of it, but there's a documentary about this. And they literally will edit the script and say, we like this, we don't like this. The CIA will not do it on paper. They'll only do it on the phone because they don't want a paper trail. But the FBI will send back notes and say, no, this doesn't represent us in the best way possible, et cetera, et cetera. Now, this morning, I saw this video and I found it quite interessante.
Our president loves this nation and all the hardworking people in it. He's a great businessman, a leader, and a caring person that will always do the right thing for this country, the people, and our beloved entertainment industry. I'm proud to call the 47th President of the United States of America my friend, and as I've said before, he is the greatest president since Abraham Lincoln. And yes, Sly, George Washington.
Let me tell you something about these Americans. These particular Americans. They love Germany, particularly 1930s Germany. They love it. Sprechen Sie Deutsch? They love it. As somebody who has a daddy that was a waste of space, I know Angelina Jolie be like, I can't stand that's my daddy. I know she be irritated. I know she do. But this is the time for all you independent filmmakers to get on it. Tubi about to turn up. This is the time. This is the time. So to answer your question, I think we can see things get very much more involved between Hollywood and politics. And we know that because of McCarthyism in the 50s, it was very involved, because we know that media is the number one element for propagandization. We know that. Propaganda is funneled through media every day, all day. So they are in tune. I don't know that they are in tune to the extent of, like you said, like knowing about things that are coming in terms of like actions by the government. However, I absolutely know that the government uses them to manufacture consent for those things. Would I move to Burkina Faso? No. I don't know. I'm not from Burkina Faso. Burkina Faso is going through a revolution for Burkina Fasoans. So what am I going there for? So I can gentrify? Heck no. All right, next question. Miss Seals, did you ever have a sketch that you would have worn to the Met Gala? Oh my gosh. I'll be right back. Okay, first let's start with the fact that this is the 1995 Models of the World competition. So when I was a young gal, a young lass, if you will, I would draw models and dresses. And they were of all ethnicities. Got a lot of white girls here. We got some Latinas. Okay. Look at that leg. I went through a phase where I was giving them a leg. The leg was coming on out. Okay. Notice the design, the dress designs. I used to love coming up with people's names. Alexandra Maldives, Victoria Gibson. Dress designs, okay? Dress designs. What year is this? 1995. So I was 12. All right. So my mom found this notebook and then printed it out and had it bound for me. But to answer your question, because I do have a thing about dresses. So I have a whole series of drawings with these like long dresses. Okay. With these like long dresses that are filled with like all type of things in them. And this one, someone says, am I ADHD? I think I am ADHD. I've never been diagnosed, but I think I am. So this dress is about hip hop. So let me see if I can get close up. It's hard for me too. So basically, like, this is a speaker, that's the heart. And then there's like a cord plugged in, and then the cord travels down to a baby. And then this is like media, and it's like showing you all different types of media that you can listen to music on. And then this is, this is not done, by the way. This is not finished. This is not finished, by the way. Okay. This is not finished. So just know that. So that's going to be a boombox, and that's like the city. And then this person is like basically like watering the creativity, watering the fires of, this is the 80s when they had like fires and they were like blowing, like they were like the Bronx was on fire. Okay. And then here you just have like music of all different shades. And then like this is a famous drawing. This is a famous picture of Dondi. And so Dondi is like jumping between the cars, the train cars. He's my favorite. He was my favorite graffiti artist. And then this is a subway train. And then this is a DJ. So this whole section is representing all the cultural aspects of hip hop. So this is breakdancing. This is graffiti. This is This is a DJ carrying a crate. This is an MC, and then this is like someone listening to the music. And then down here, and this is something that I'm still trying to work on. This speaks to on the bottom. Yes, I want to become an art teacher. I literally want to teach free art classes, and I'm trying to figure out how I can do that. And the art classes that I would teach are less about like technique and more about expression. You know? Cassie, if you think I would sell a painting at this point in my career for $1,000, you crazy. This represents like the basically like the conflict of like on one hand there's like violence, but then on the other hand there's like learning and peace, and like both of them end up being a part of this music and this form. Well, I can't really be an art therapy teacher because I don't have the training as an art therapist. But I literally just want to have spaces where I can do that. Okay, so next question. Elsie said, when did you discover that you love painting? I spent the night at my friend Julia Kebble's house. Actually, today is Julia's birthday. Happy birthday, Julia. I spent the night at her house and she forgot that she had to work the next day. And she worked as an assistant to this woman who had an art class, which is what I would base my art class on. Her name was Retta. And Retta would teach this art class. Literally, she just had a converted garage. She had a big old table. She had art supplies. Kids would come, you would pay a fee, and you got access to whatever art supplies you need. And then you would literally just, she would have like all these different, like really cool pictures and that she had collected. And then you would just sift through and see which one inspired you and then do a painting based on that. And so I went with her that day just because like she was working. But that day I realized like, oh, I really love this. I really love this. And I ended up after that going back. And then that's how I fell in love with it. Okay, Kimberly has a personal question. I always wonder why your ex needed to borrow money if he had a job working for Ye. Well, he lost his job working for Kanye about 6 months into our relationship because Kanye literally just walked into the studio one day and was like, I'm closing the studio. And that was it. And he just did not have a job there. Then he got another job. But to answer your question, he should not have had to borrow money because he did have another job. But the other job was like very kind of like, it just seemed very inconsistent, but I was dumb because I should not have loaned him the money. And that's really just what it boils down to. I should not have loaned him the money. He should have asked. I just should have not loaned him the money. You're right. He did have a job. And I was basically just trying to be supportive of somebody who did not deserve it. But this is the easy one. My favorite home cooked meal is a loaded baked potato and lobster tail. Would I ever do an art show of my work? Of course, I've done several. Okay. Y'all are dropping a lot of questions in here, but I feel like a lot of them are not really thought out questions. Okay, Kashan says, you get an all expenses paid trip to anywhere on the globe. Where are you going and who, if anyone, are you taking with you? All expenses paid trip. Then I'm going to China. I really would like to see, I want to go to Asia, not just China. I've never seen Asia. So like, I really want to see China and Japan and Vietnam and Thailand and Korea. Like I've never been to Asia. And I really want to go to Asia. Who am I taking with me? No one. No one. Okay. I'm looking at these questions. And here we go. Miss Seals, would you be comfortable telling us what happened to Jeremiah on your radio show? So Jeremiah began working with me when he was an intern in my internship program that I used to do with Smart, Funny, and Black. And he really just exhibited incredible intuition with marketing in ways that I just feel like I'm not the best at. So I offered him a consulting job. So he came in and he started in working with us as a consultant to help launch my Patreon. So then when that was up, I made a shift in the company and I offered him a job as like my producer. So producing Small Doses podcast, producing like content for YouTube, etc. So we were doing that, and within that time frame, I also started doing this is 2023. I was doing my documentary in Amanda We Trust. At the beginning of 2023, I experienced a sexual assault, and I told the people that work with me at Smart, Funny, and Black Productions, and I took note, by the way, of basically, how people responded to that. And I was really surprised at kind of the lack of follow-up. And he was the only person in the chat who did not say anything. So everybody else had said, I'm sorry to hear about this, et cetera, but he did not say anything. So, I know that some people don't know how to respond to certain things, so I didn't take that any kind of way. Fast forward, I got my book deal and I shared that with everyone, and everyone said, oh my God, great, and he did not say anything. He just didn't feel the need to provide any level of support or congratulations. And I will say that there is something to be said about knowing how to show up for people in victory as well as in loss. So then we were doing I had started doing the radio show, and I had him on the radio show that I was doing with LOL, where he was showing up with my other host, Taj. And I felt like he was doing a really good job. And one thing about me is I really want to always kind of give platform to people whose skill I see. Like if I see that you got it, I'm like, get it. So especially when it's going to make what I'm doing even better, right? And I want to make sure that you're properly supported, etc. So then I said, okay, this radio show that I'm doing, we're looking for, because the host that was on the show at the time, DJ Nails, like it was clear that DJ Nails wanted something else, which he's got. And I think it's so great that DJ Nails is in the position that he is in Columbus, Ohio. So shout to Nails. But it was just like, there's a match for this that makes, that could be a clearer match. And so Jeremiah was the right pick. So he came in, and so we were working together, and we had also, in this time, we're working on the documentary in Amanda We Trust. And so we went to Atlanta to shoot for In Amanda We Trust. And there was I'm not going to put his business out there, but there was something that took place in Atlanta where I really had to show up beyond a boss, okay, beyond an employer. And I had no problem doing that because I considered this person my friend. And at the same time, I was going through a really sketchy experience with my tour. No, that was not that same time. That was earlier. But I say all this to say that, I'm the kind of person where I don't believe in holding things over people's head. I do think it is important sometimes to remind people of how you have shown up for them when they are actively not showing up for you. And I don't think that's holding something over someone's head. I do think, though, it is calling attention to saying, hey, like, this is not, it's not necessarily like a quid pro quo, but it is like, I have already demonstrated to you how I exist and the kind of person I am, why do you not feel that you should exist in the same way in response to me? So then we kept going. And when we came, we did the shoot and everything for In Amanda We Trust. And when we came back, he said that he didn't want to, it may have been like a couple months later, he said that he didn't want to work for my company anymore, but he still wanted to do the radio show. And his reasoning was he felt that working for the company was, he said that it was too much on his mental health to care about someone else's work. He said that when he was working for companies that he didn't care about, it was easier because he didn't have to be vested. But working for me, he had to be vested, and he felt that it was just too much pressure and it was just too much for him to manage. But he still wanted to do the radio show. And I did feel conflicted about that, right? Because it was kind of like, well, you're basically saying, I don't want to show up for you in support of your work, but I do want to show up where it's going to push my work. So, nonetheless, I kept it going. We kept going. And then shortly thereafter, Devon and I broke up. And the next day after Devon and I broke up, he came to the house because we would record at the house. And he came to the house and he said nothing about the breakup. He said nothing about the breakup. He didn't say, are you okay? He didn't say, nothing, literally nothing. And I said, and I just flat out, when I realized that he had walked in my house and just was talking to me about this without saying anything, I just flat out said, do you consider me a friend? And he said, yes and no. And I said, okay. And he said, yes and no. I said, what does that mean? He said, well, I consider you a friend because, I like, yes and no, because like, I kind of only met you as, through work. So it's not really like it's not friendship in the way that like, oh, like I met you naturally. Like I met you through work. So it's not really the same. And I was just like, interesting. Okay. And I said, well, I just want you to know that I do feel like I'm not being seen. There's been a number of instances now where I've shared with you and others, like things that are happening, and the response has really from you been zero. And I'm not really sure what that's related to, but it makes me feel like we're not on the same page. And I'm saying this also as somebody who has shown up for him time and again. Like I met his parents and his mother literally cried in my arms for the platform that I've given to her son. She literally cried in my arms and was like, thank you for seeing his gifts, et cetera, which is nothing because like, that's what it's supposed to be about. She prayed over me. That was a beautiful experience. His mama prayed over me. So we went on. But that something changed that day, right? Because now I'm seeing that, oh, you don't see me the way that I see you, which is a constant issue for me. I am constantly holding people in a regard that they don't hold me in. And, I see people in here saying things like, maybe just no social skills. Empathy is not easy. Empathy is very easy for me. I think it's really scary to say empathy is not easy. I actually find that really frightening to say that like it's a norm. Empathy is actually very easy if you are empathetic. It may not be easy when you are dealing with traumas that you have that are unresolved, but I find empathy actually too easy. So I don't think that's a blanket statement that we can just say. And I think that at the end of the day, we should at the very least be able to have a general concept of how to act. Like my mom is not the best with empathy, but she has had to learn how to show up. Okay? She has had to learn how to show up at the very least because she doesn't naturally have it, and she's had to like learn how to at least present it. So lastly, I will say that it reached a point where I saw a series of behaviors that I felt were not congruent with someone who had regard for the workspace. So it's like, okay, if we're not going to be friends, fine, but you still at least need to show up a certain way professionally. And, there was just a number of times where it just got to a point and I said, this is just not, and so finally I asked him, I said, have you been working on what you said you were going to work on? He said, well, what do you mean? I said, have you worked on, your mental health? You said that was the reason that you weren't being impeded from being able to work with me. So have you been doing anything action oriented wise to work on that? And he said he felt attacked. He said that he felt me addressing this in this way, he felt attacked. And I said, well, I'm not attacking you. I'm asking you a direct question because I feel like you are not producing the connectivity in this workspace that is necessary. And I'm first wanting to make sure that it is not, something attached to the problems that you were experiencing in this other workspace. And he was just like, I mean, I don't know. Then you started crying. And I mean, it just got to a point where I had to say, this is just not, this is not someone I can interact with in a fair way, because I was not attacking him. And I was simply just trying to give space. And I said essentially that the show was about to expand. The show was about to go to another level. And it was like, this is necessary. This conversation is necessary because if we're going to another level, there's a certain level of connectivity and camaraderie that is imperative, because the show is literally my name. It's the Amanda Seales Show. So I can't take this show to another level with folks who don't want to see me win, who don't want to be a part of this journey. And he said, well, I just thought if I just showed up and did the work, then it wouldn't be a problem, that everything would be fine. But that's just not what it means. When you're doing art, that's not enough. You can't just show up and quote unquote do the work, because especially if I'm an empath and I'm an artist, like I can feel, I can feel. And so at the end of the year, we were again moving to, we were expanding. And so his contract would have had to be renewed. And I, said that it was not going to be renewed because it was clear that he did not feel connected to the space. He did not feel honest about the space. And I was going to see a Reiki healer at the time. And she said to me, you are in a place in your life where you need to understand that you are the brand. And I was like, oh, I hate that word. And she was like, you may hate that word, but that is your existence in this particular life. You are a brand in this capitalist social, framework. You are a brand, and people attach to you for a particular reason. And she was like, that at the end of the day, you cannot have anybody in your immediate circle who's not going to believe in the brand, who's not going to protect the brand, and who doesn't love the brand. And so, as Kishan adds right here, this is not like we're going to an office. You're coming to my house. You know what I mean? Like, you're with my animals. You were with my man when I had one. So there's a certain level of intimacy that once it's disrupted, that the safe space is not being protected, it can't continue. So that is the long answer to why Jeremiah and I no longer work together. I wish him nothing but the best. But we were simply no longer a vibrational match. Ba-dum-bum. All right. Risha, as someone who constantly finds herself in one-way relationships, how do I not do that anymore? you have to start doing the real work of why are you always in one-way relationships? And that is more than likely going to reveal that people in your life that you have trusted were not really to be trusted in that particular way. And so what ends up happening is there's kind of like a throwing away and then a welcoming back. There's some really great books on codependency to read. One of them is called Conquering Codependency. And wait, what is it? It's Conquering Codependency and Shame. Conquering Shame and Codependency. It is by Darlene Lancer. And this is a really quick read. It's something that you can also really get a lot out of as an audiobook. You know, I think you should, take notes. But if you're someone who like sews or knits or something like that, like it's the kind of book that you can read while doing something else and you won't necessarily miss the content. But I do believe that that is at the core of why you're in one-sided relationships, because you are dealing with shame and codependency. And the shame is why you're codependent. So you're going to have to get to the bottom of why you have shame. And it's 9 times out of 10 attached to your parents. And this is also probably deeply attached to your depression, Risha. And I'm telling you, when you get to the bottom of it and then you free yourself of it, it is literally like you have a new life. It's legit like you are rebirthed. But this book did wonders for me in writing my book. And, just getting to a clearer space about things that I feel like I wasn't going to get to by myself. Someone had asked earlier if I have siblings. I have 4 siblings by my father. I have a sister Netta, a sister Nasim, a brother Huey Omar, and a brother Noor. I had seen another question in here. Hold on. One second. Somebody asked a question that I thought I marked and I did not. Okay. Let's see. Nia asks, Miss Seals, as a self-regulator, how do you self-regulate when external factors throw you off, like last-minute cancellations, meeting setups? Is this frustrating when these occurrences happen frequently? I've gotten much better at this. In the past, it used to literally ruin my day. It used to literally ruin my day. And it took quite a lot of work to like get out of that funk. It would take like so much. Now I would say that I think the reason why it's not as disruptive is because I've done a lot of work on fortifying just like my time and space with myself. And even though it's something that I don't appreciate and I will share that with the person, it doesn't like make it through to like my own personal energy. And it used to do that because I feel like my personal energy was so attached to the time that I was going to spend with those people. And I feel like there was a definite attachment to like a level of acceptance and being rewarded or being acknowledged, whether it was a meeting or whether it was a hangout. And so when they would be canceled, it didn't, even if it wasn't intentionally personal, even, if it wasn't like intentionally about me, it would feel that way because I had attached to it in that way. And so that's the work that I had to do to relocate my juxtaposition to these types of things. So it's like, I feel like with all of this stuff, recalibrate, that's the word. I feel like with all of this stuff, it's like the thing that you're looking at ends up not even being the thing you got to fix. It's like there's this other thing you have to fix that will fix that by nature. Like in tennis, you know, your stroke isn't really about like your arm. It starts with your hip. You know what I'm saying? Like it never, like that's not the thing that looks like the thing that you're working on ends up actually not even really being the thing. What really ends up affecting your stroke is the hip. Using your hip and how you line your body up. That's going to affect your whole stroke. So it's the same with how we develop and address these issues, like what Mia's asking here and what Risha had asked earlier. You got to go like steps back. The thing that's staring at you in your face is rarely where you need to start. Rarely. This is not funny, Michelle, but it is hilarious. There's a bat flying through your apartment in the dark. I'm jealous. You have a bat in your house? I want a bat in my house. Is it attacking you? I want a bat. I would love to have a bat in this house. Okay. I'm just saying. Okay. Let's see. Next question. Hamid asked, Miss Seals, when and how did you know you required, wanted, or needed a revolutionary love? What is revolutionary love to you? And do you still feel it will find you, or will you find it? So, I think I said it before I even really knew what I meant by it. I would say at this point that a revolutionary love for me is one that is not ruled by and is not informed by what this particular patriarchal society considers to be love. Like, I think we have a lot of romanticizations about love that are not really related to what love is. And a person like me is an incredibly unique person. You know, I feel like on the Venn diagram of humans, I'm really out here. So I would need somebody that sees love through their own lens, which is what revolution requires. Revolution requires you really forming your ideas outside of frameworks that have been formed for you. And it's not to say that some of those frameworks that were formed for you might apply, but it's you actively deciding this is what makes sense, not basing it on this is what you've been told makes sense. And do I still feel I will find it, or will you find it? I don't even know if I care at this point. Sometimes I look at I like see people in relationships and I'm just like, good for them. It's like the same energy that I had when I see people with kids. Like, I just be like, good for them. Like, I don't find myself anymore saying, I wish I had that. I want that. I just don't. I mean, I don't know, because I will not make any concessions. And I don't want anyone to make any concessions for me. Okay? I don't want somebody to be like, I like Amanda even though. Nope. So I don't want to do that with somebody else. I don't want to say I like them even though I'm not attracted to them. I like them even though I don't want to do none of that. So because of that, that changes the game, because a lot of folks consider that to be that's like an essential part of being in a relationship, that there's going to be an even though. You know, Seema, the matchmaker on Indian Matchmaker, always says, you're only going to get 70%. You're never going to get 100%. You're only going to get 70%. And like, she be matchmaking. So I don't know that she's wrong, but I know that for me, it's only right if it's 100%. And that's really not necessarily out here. That being said, when I got back in touch with my 6th grade teacher, Ms. Wiley, she ended up finding her 100% at 52. At 52. So listen, it could be out there. They could be out there. But for me, I don't really feel like it's something that is of priority. It is priority that Michelle get that bat out her house, though. That is priority. I hope you all are enjoying this special edition episode, the Pick My Brain episode. Y'all got some good questions, and I hope you're getting some answers that you've been really wondering about. So, Levon says, what made you want to quit drinking, and have you noticed a better quality of life? So I've had to quit drinking twice. The first time I had to quit drinking was because I had severe vocal cord problems. And my severe vocal cord problems were largely in part due to having taken Advil for several years as a gymnast. I would take 2 Advil every day for like 3 years. And that the NSAID type of pills is a blood thinner. And so it had made my vocal cords hemorrhage. And so the other thing that happened is that I went to college. Now I'm drinking in college, and liquor is a real dehydrator. So I have vocal cords that are hemorrhaging, and then I'm also dehydrated. So my vocal cords are also being used all the time because I'm a singer, I'm a poet, I'm a so it's like all these things are happening. So when I finally got to a really good specialist, shout out to Dr. Aziz and Dr. White, they really helped me. And I also had developed very severe, because of the NSAIDs, I had developed very severe, well, I think because of the NSAIDs, I developed very severe heartburn. So you have acid, you have leftover bruising, and then you have constant dehydration. So the doctor was like, okay, here's the thing. You can do one of 2 things. You can keep drinking or you can sing. So that's that. You can keep drinking or you can sing. So once they put it in those terms, you're like, got it. So I stopped drinking for 2 years. That was in 2005. Then I ended up going on tour with Flowetry, and I found that I could drink and it was fine. It wasn't affecting my vocal cords. So that was that. So fast forward now, it's years later, it's 2015, it's 10 years later. I moved to LA, and in LA, I'm now driving all the time. And everybody was getting DUIs. Everybody was getting DUIs. And I was like, not gonna be me. Not gonna be me. And I just stopped. You know, it's not to say that I don't have something with alcohol in it ever so often. Like when I go to Grenada, I'll drink Bailey's. I really love elderberry, Saint Germain, not elderberry, elderflower, Saint Germain. So like if I see a drink that has elderflower in it, like on a menu, I may get it. But beyond that, no, I also, in response to, has it been a better quality of life? Absolutely. Absolutely. I feel like I am a really much clearer and healthier person because I'm able to also be on an antidepressant that isn't dealing with, the clash of alcohol. I also am able to, so a lot of people have a lot of trouble with their weight because they are drinking and they're not attributing the drinking to creating weight problems. It's not only creating weight problems because of the sugars, but it's also dehydrating you, which is making you retain water. So, because of those things not being a part of my actual like regular life, it's also a better quality of life because I save more money. People are spending the same amount of money on a meal on a drink, which is beyond my scope of, it's literally beyond my scope of comprehension to spend the same amount of money on a drink and a meal. So I don't have to worry about, like, I'm not like seeing my money just drain with the liquor. I think the biggest thing too is it changes who I socialize with. I feel like a lot of the time I was hanging out with people that weren't really looking to grow. They weren't really looking to expand, but they were really looking to like drink and party, and that wasn't doing anything for me. So there's that. All right, I'm going to take a few more questions. I've already flagged them, so don't ask any new questions because I've already flagged the questions I'm going to answer. Sarah asks, have you always considered yourself an activist, or what was the tipping point for you? I can't wait for your memoir. Thanks. You know, I actually don't talk about this in my memoir in this particular context. I talk about it in the context of how Palestine like re-radicalized me. I've always been an activist because I was raised in a house that was always conscious. Like my mom wasn't going to protests and things like that. Like that wasn't necessarily her ministry, but I was always raised with an incredible consciousness around Blackness, around culture, around Black popular culture. Like these things were just always in my zeitgeist. So there was never really anything that I had to like point to as a catalyst for what made me an activist, as much as that I was just always aware that injustice was a built-in facet of the world and of like the Black existence in the United States. My senior year of high school, I went to Dr. Phillips High School, shout out to DP. And my senior year of high school, the season of shows for the theater included 3 what would be considered Black shows out of 5. So the season was Pearly the Musical, Othello. Was it Othello? No, Hamlet. So Pearly the Musical, Hamlet, Spunk by Zora Neale Hurston, Becoming Memories, which is a 1-act play, and the main stage musical was Once on This Island. So 3 out of those shows are considered Black shows: Spunk, Once on This Island, and Pearly. The white kids in my senior class of theater lost their shite. They were very bothered, honey. They were very bothered. And they just took issue with the fact that there was only 3 Black people in the class. And why would there be 3 plays? Well, the 3 Black people in the class is the 3 most talented ones in the class. Me, Michael Scott, and Makia Cox. We was the 3 most talented ones in the goddamn class. So why wouldn't we? Why wouldn't they? And also, and this is what our teacher, Karen Regario, said to them, they've been playing white people for the past 3 years. Okay? They've been playing the one Black role for the past 3 years. So how about you adjust? Because the roles that they were playing also were not necessarily like, it was blind casting. Like on Once on This Island, there's like the young Timoon and the grown Timoon. Little white girl Stephanie Johnson played the young Timoon, which we still laugh about to this day, but she played the heck out of young Timoon. And then halfway through the show, it switches to the grown Timoon, and it was Makia Cox. We are in college. We are in high school. Act. Okay? And part of Once on This Island is a whole exchange with the bourgeoisie. So a lot of the white kids just ended up being the bourgeoisies that are dealing with Timoon. Oh, Timoon, you will always be a part of us. Oh, Timoon. Oh, Timoon. Yeah. So that was like a thing where I think in that moment, I also saw that I was an activist because I got Makia and Michael to be active. I was like, we need to be sitting together all the time. We need to always be moving together. Like, they can't be no playing games. All right. Like, we're going to need to be squad, period. They went along with me. They went along with me. But then there was a whole other level that happened after Palestine. Okay. Next question. Would you kindly share your thoughts about what is happening with the father that took out a cop because his son had gotten shot? I actually need to correct something. So the reporting was confusing, and the reporting suggested that the cop that was taken out was a part of the shooting, and he was not. He was not a part of the shooting. He was actually completely unrelated to the shooting and completely innocent. And I feel like that was not cool. I thought that he was retaliating against one of the officers the officer that fired the gun. That's what I thought was happening. But to simply just take the life of an innocent person that's completely non-related, no, I don't think that's acceptable. I don't think that's acceptable. I will say, I understand. I understand. And that's the grief of generations that man is dealing with. So I understand. Io asks, so what should people do instead of disassociate when it comes to genocide, Trump, and etc.? I don't even know why disassociating would be a thing to do. You know, not letting something consume every part of your day does not mean you're disassociating. There's compartmentalization, right? There's ways of factoring things into your life. I don't think that there's anything really like to me, it seems like it's literally, what's the word I'm looking for? Like there's a certain mental illness around being able to dissociate with something that is actively a part of your life. Bye, Patricia. Like it's actively a part of your life. So to disassociate means that you are literally like just not acknowledging reality. That's delusion. So I think there's something to be said for compartmentalization. I think there's something to be said for addressing things in certain ways. But I think that when we talk about saying, you know, I need to just put my head in the sand and not think about these things in order to be okay, I feel that ignoring and pretending something isn't happening does not actually mean that you're okay. And I don't think that anyone who struggles with depression would tell you that. As somebody who has struggled with depression, I will absolutely tell you that pretending that things aren't happening will absolutely get to you. Because you know what you know. You know what you know. Okay. These are the last questions. I'm going to answer them quickly. Rachel asks, do you practice any particular religion? The Force. That's the religion I practice. May the Force be with you and also with you. No, I don't practice any religion. Ricky Star, they put the sirens because this is the only time you're going to get to ask this question. I know you have expressed never wanting to debate Candace Owen, but any other women commentators would you like to debate? I don't see the point in debating for me. Like, I'm willing to do a Jubilee episode for a very particular reason. But I think that when it comes to, so like there's no reason to debate someone like Candace Owens, because Candace Owens isn't debating from a fact-based foundation. So that's not an actual debate, right? And also because there's a certain version in this framework where calling it a debate is as if I'm like debating values. And I don't necessarily find any value in that. Some people do, right? Like I know Mark Lamont Hill and Mehdi Hassan, like they're really good at debating, and they do so to expose like false truths, etc. But I don't personally think that I'm the best person for that, because I think that the way that my personality shows up is that people don't even want to hear the truth I'm speaking over whatever version of me they've come up with. So it ends up being kind of like a moot point. Like it's just not really useful in that way. Like there's just other people I think that would be better suited for that, based on like their histories and based on the way that they have been existing and experiencing and being experienced within this framework. As opposed in referring to other commentators I'd like to debate, I just don't think that's the best use of my existence, debating. I just don't think that's the best use of my existence. It doesn't bring me joy. I think there's just a more, I get more out of having educational exchanges and not being the smartest person in the room and learning in that way as well. So that I can't say that there's any other women commentators I would like to debate. No. And for what it's worth, commentator is an interesting term because so many of these people that have the commentator like idiom around them, or like title, are ruled by things I'm not ruled by. You know, they're ruled by corporate dollars. They're ruled by a desire to have relevance. They're ruled by ego. So these are things that I'm not ruled by. So it's like I'm not having like an exchange from the same, like we're not in the same position. So there's that. Okay. Do you ever think maybe Kamala had no choice? Like it was never up to one president. It's the government position on Israel, and that was never going to change. I think that this question could be relevant if her winning, let's say the election wasn't rigged, okay? Let's say it was a legitimate election, because we don't know either way. Her winning was contingent upon shifting the government position on Israel. So, if anything, she didn't have a choice because she was put in a position that she didn't earn. And I know people are going to be like, how dare you? She didn't earn that position. She was not primaried, and she did not do a convention runoff. She was given that position, and it was done so because this guy had taken so long to get out of office that even though he wasn't even supposed to stay in office, he was in cognitive decline for the entire time. And it was still this idea that I'm the only one who can win because I'm a white man. And it's not that he was completely wrong, because, I mean, they weren't going to elect a black woman, but they absolutely weren't going to elect a black woman who's acting like a white man. And that is the error and mistake that so many have made in this country. So many people in this country were thinking, well, the country is so racist that we need a black woman that's at least going to be willing to uphold some of these racist and centrist ideas. And what they failed to recognize is that had they put up a black woman who actually stood on business beyond just I'm not him, she would have garnered a force behind her that would have made it very clear that we was not going to let her lose, and we were not going to lose as well. So you have people in these comments talking about I've given up on the country, I've given up on the United States, et cetera, and I don't blame them. I don't blame them. However, if you're looking to lead a movement, you start with the people who move. So when people ask me, oh, if I'm going to Hollywood, what's your advice? My advice is not going to be to go get an agent. No, my advice is going to be go find the filmmakers, the writers, and the producers who are making things. Those are the ones who are moving. Don't go find other actors. It's not going to work. So the goal for Kamala Harris was not to change empire, but was to uphold empire. This other place, their goal was to change empire. And I don't think that's what people really grasp. Donald Trump and the MAGA people are having a revolution. It's just a revolution in the wrong direction. They are having a revolution, y'all. Yeah, and it sucks. And because they are having a revolution, people are thinking, oh, Kamala, she could have won. She couldn't have won because they had already spent years putting together a consortium of people who move, a consortium of people who are willing to move. When you see that white lady getting taken out of that Representative Mike Lawler, you see them taking her out of there, right? And nobody's moving. That's why what's happening is able to happen, because there is not a consortium of people that are willing to move more than MAGA is moving. If you want to see what a revolution looks like, it's happening in front of you. Yes. And you can call it what you want, devolution, whatever. It is significant change on all spectrums of life and society. So did Kamala have a choice? Yes. For the record, everyone has a choice. They may tell you that your choice is going to cause these particular consequences, but everyone has a choice. I think there may be a version of life where it was like, well, I know that this is the right thing to do, but this is the only thing I have to work with, and I'm trying to save Americans. That could be the case. Perhaps. But by her marrying a Zionist, I don't see that to be the case. You married into this. And that ain't had nothing to do with running for president. Or did it? Ba-dum-bum. Cordon Wellness says, Ms. Seals, do you feel that your purpose or calling in this lifetime takes precedence over pursuing partnership in the traditional sense? I don't know. I mean, what does pursuing partnership mean? Like dating on the apps? Like what does pursuing partnership really mean? Like going out to bars? I don't know. Like, I just feel like ultimately I'm going to be me, and wherever I'm at is where I'm going to be at. And whoever's for me is going to be there. Yes, that is my favorite Jordan. That is my favorite sneaker of all time, the Jordan 3 with the black and gray colorway. That is my favorite sneaker of all time. All right, we've got what looks like one more question. Actually, two more questions. Levi says, Miss Seals or Levy, I had a strong reaction to the taxes I pay going to the current administration. What's better, asking my boss to take me off the books or attending local political meetings and speaking out? I don't know that there's anything better. I think it's just if you have a boss that'll take you off the books, I'm not telling you to do anything illegal, but I would say that you have to ask yourself, what is the most effective way for you as a single person to show up in resistance. And it might mean both, for the record. Okay, this is the last question. Sarah Palmer asks, oh no, that was all the questions. That was it. We did it. We did it. You guys, a lot of talking. We did a lot of talking. But I hope that you enjoyed this episode. It's a very different type of episode. We'll be back on Monday. You get to resubmit your assignments. Remember, keep them to 3 minutes or less. And you should have the same link so you can submit. And hopefully we will have a great time. Sharing your guys' voices and your guys' thoughts, because I think that's really important and necessary. And thank you, Chaz, for providing thoughts on, for providing questions and inquiries on heavy topics. I'm an open book for a lot of things. And a lot of times the reason why I don't speak certain things is actually to protect other people and not to protect me, or to simply not, draw attention to things that are not that important. And at this point, I feel like the most important thing is to continue to tell the truth, to empower and to enliven each other and to encourage each other. And so that's what I try and do here every day. You guys have a great rest of the week. Yeah, that's what this was. This was office hours. That's what I'm going to call it next time, Kashawn. Office hours. Yes. Office hours. For anybody who is on the replay, Ponder replay. I should have said this at the beginning of the show, but I'm starting to post clips to the Smart Funny and Black Instagram. And if there was any clips from today that you feel really stood out, please put the time code on the YouTube so I can pull them. Yeah. Proud of the people, y'all. Remember, we are each other's business. When we look out for each other, we lift each other up. Let's get into our 30 seconds of stillness. "30 seconds of stillness." I enjoyed laughing and learning with you. Please make sure to like, comment, and subscribe. And tell your friends. Also, listen to the podcast. It's available everywhere pods are casted. Listen ad-free by subscribing to Patreon Amanda Seals. Come on and join the Seals Squad. Views from AmandaLand. Live 10 a.m. Eastern, Monday through Wednesday, with content on Thursday and Friday at YouTube Amanda Seals TV. Smart